Karen reports her neighbor's guess. It's an FBI retirement party for a black veteran. Karen Stroud prided herself on being the eyes and ears of her neighborhood. A white woman in her late 50s, she saw her job as preserving peace and order in the cul-de-sac of Bellwood Estates, even if no one had ever asked her to. To Karen, anything unexpected was suspicious, and anyone unfamiliar was a threat. So, when a stream of mostly black and brown guests began arriving at the house next door on a Saturday afternoon, well-dressed men in suits, women in elegant dresses, and even a few uniformed individuals, Karen didn't hesitate. She picked up the phone and called the non-emergency police line. "Hi, yes," she said, trying to sound casual. "There's a large gathering next door. A lot of unfamiliar people. Cars lining the street. It's getting kind of loud. I'm not saying anything illegal is happening, but it just seems off." She paused dramatically. "And honestly, it's starting to feel unsafe." 30 minutes later, a patrol car pulled into the street. Karen stood by her window, arms folded, satisfied. But what happened next didn't go as planned. The officers didn't rush in. They didn't issue warnings. Instead, they shook hands, smiled, took off their hats in respect. Karen leaned closer, confused. A neighbor knocked on her door moments later, Mrs. Lynn from across the street. "You should come outside," she said. "You might want to hear who that party is for." Karen rolled her eyes but followed anyway. In the front yard of the house she'd just reported, a banner stretched across the porch. "Congratulations, Agent Terrence Reynolds, 30 years of service, FBI and Army veteran." A man in his 60s, tall, composed, with salt and pepper hair, stood near the flag-draped archway surrounded by colleagues, neighbors, and family. A framed certificate from the FBI sat beside him. Two uniformed officers were presenting him with a folded flag and a medal. Karen froze. The man she'd reported was being honored for a lifetime of defending the country. The tension was instant. One of the guests, a younger man in a gray FBI suit, looked directly at her. "You're the one who called, aren't you?" he asked. Karen stammered. I was just concerned about the number of people." "Concerned about black excellence?" he replied calmly. "Because that's what's happening here." She opened her mouth, but the shame beat her to it. Another guest, a woman in a navy dress, shook her head. "We fought beside Terrence. He's more of an American than most people I've met in Congress." Someone else chimed in. "Funny how it's only a disturbance when it doesn't look like you." Karen backed away as eyes turned toward her. Not with rage, but with pure, deep disappointment. That night, a video clip from the party surfaced online. The banner, the officers saluting, Agent Reynolds hugging his grandchildren, and a neighbor, Karen, watching uncomfortably from her lawn. It was titled, "She Called the Cops. It Was a Hero's Farewell." Hashtags trended overnight. "Wants justice for Reynolds. Dashur, not a suspicion, but a salute." Kashur, Karen strikes. Again, local news picked up the story. The mayor's office released a statement praising Agent Reynolds. Neighborhood forums exploded with fury toward Karen. She was removed from the HOA board. Local businesses distanced themselves. She became that woman again. The next week, she sat alone in her kitchen. No visitors, no calls returned. Her sister sent her a single message. "What you did was disgusting. Dad would be ashamed." Karen broke down. It wasn't just the fallout. It was the realization that in all her protection of the neighborhood, she had failed to protect the very values her country was built on: respect, honor, and truth. 3 days later, Karen knocked on her neighbor's door. Terrence himself answered. He looked at her, calm but tired. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said, "but I came to thank you for your service, for your years, for your sacrifice, and to say, I'm sorry." He didn't invite her in, but he did say, "I've faced worse than you, but I never expected it to come from someone across the lawn." Karen nodded, fighting tears. "I've started reading about bias, about service. I've got a long way to go." "You do," he said, "but you took the first step." A month later, Karen stood quietly at the edge of a community event, one she didn't plan or control. It was a fundraiser for scholarships for children of black veterans. She didn't speak. She just served food, carried chairs, and listened. When Terrence saw her there, he gave a short nod. No forgiveness yet. But maybe, one day. because sometimes the loudest justice is the silence where prejudice used to live.